Hello everyone, my name is Dennis and I'm here to tell you a little about one of the greatest finds in recent years, at least as far as I'm concerned, and I'm talking about the Bluetti AC200 Max solar power station. And as we slip into the fall of 2022, I hope everyone is well and safe, considering that the past few weeks were rather tough on North America, and for that matter everywhere on the world, with the two hurricanes pounding over Florida and eastern Canada. We up here in Canada even had warnings recommending that people get used to 72-hour outages. So technically what that means is people should stock up and be prepared for the occasional 72-hour outage, whether it's because of rainstorms, wind, hurricanes, tropical storms, snowstorms, or what have you, making this little puppy, this beast of burden, your best friend. The AC200 Max is the successor to the AC200P that I had also purchased in the past, not to mention that I had purchased competition power stations even before that, namely Goal Zero Yetis. I had actually owned two of those that were lithium-ion based, and I owned them long enough so that the charging, the maximum charge that I would get out of it would not get any higher than 99%. So the lithium-ion based power stations are rated at 500 charge cycles down to 80%, which means that when you purchase them new, they will charge up to 100%, and 500 cycles later at the most, you will get no more than 80%, or at least the power station will be down to 80% of its original capacity, which is still fairly good, but it's, you know, it's 500 cycles down the road. This Bluetti here is rated at 3,500 cycles plus down to 80%. Can you imagine the amount of use you can get out of it? Let's say from 100% full charge down to 99, 95, 92, 90, 85, down to 80%. 3,500 cycles of charges down to 80% amounts to more than 10 years worth of use. And I'm not letting go of that puppy, that's for sure. I had initially purchased the AC200 Max for the purpose of powering a trailer from, let's say, the end of May till early September, which pretty much leaves your unit useless for the rest of the year, considering that I live in an apartment complex on the 27th floor. But I soon discovered that that little puppy stays out in the open and gets used all year round. First, let's walk around the house and see this kind of stuff that I power with it. Now first, I have a standalone freezer packed with frozen dinners for the teleworker in me, so I wouldn't want to lose that over an outage. So let's see if the power station, or how much power that this will require when powering it here. Sorry. This, turn on, the freezer starts and draws 70 watts of power, 68 watts of power. That's not much. And once the freezer has reached its set temperature, obviously the power goes substantially lower. So you can power a freezer over a very, very long time, like 60, 70 watts intermittent is like powering a freezer over a matter of days. So that's pretty good. Let's power off the freezer for good measure and plug it back onto the wall. There you go. And over here we enter the kitchen, where I had purposely disconnected the fridge and opened the door to make sure that when I power it back on, the compressor kicks in. So let's see how the Bluetti handles the kitchen refrigerator, because as you'd expect in an outage, One of the basic necessities is to make sure that your food is kept fresh. So let's power it back on. And true enough, it does. At power up, it drew 200 watts. And you heard the startup noise. Down to 138, 37 watts for your average kitchen fridge. Now again, as stated earlier, the kitchen fridge is compressor based, so it will kick in, and as soon as it reaches its set temperature, it will stop and may start again in an hour. Now at a rate of 137, 38 watts, that thing, oh, now it's down to 110 watts. So you see, the longer you leave it on, the less it draws. So for good measure, the fridge is on. You can hear the compressor noise. I will turn off the AC outlet. And bye-bye fridge. Now over here we have our entertainment unit consisting of a 65-inch OLED TV, a 100-watt Bose soundbar complete with subwoofer, and there's a UPS here, a compact UPS meant to sustain the router and modem, cable modem in the event of an outage, because living in a complex building, there's a good chance that the telecom room downstairs has its own UPS, which would maintain the internet alive for like half a day or a full day. So I take advantage of it by supplying my own UPS, and the apartment can maintain its internet connectivity during the early hours or a few hours after the onset of an outage. So let's turn on the whole entertainment system and see how much power it draws from the Bluetti to which it is connected. Oh, yeah, of course. I need to power on the AC. There you go. So once the AC is powered on, the distribution unit over here lights up. Okay, so let's see how much power it draws. 182 watts is the TV. Yeah, the TV is powering on. There we go. So again, the whole system draws 200 watts, 205 watts, 206 watts, 222 watts. So technically, this being a 2,200 watt output unit, if we, for good measure, keep our expectations to a delivery of about 1,800 watts, we can expect something in the vicinity of 7 to 9 hours of use out of the TV and the entertainment system. There you go. So pretty good. And finally, we enter the work area consisting of two 27-inch HP stations, an overhead lamp, a laser printer, a Bose sound system again for the office, and a plethora of peripherals, all connected to their own UPS again for another 45 minutes of standby. Now, in an actual situation where the power goes out, you would expect, to rely on your UPS, turn off your computers gently, and take a break. But in my situation, being a teleworker, they're not expecting me to take the occasional breaks, and I'll explain to you why later. I have to rely on my Bluetti, which I have conveniently connected to the UPS and will power on the AC outlet. You may have noticed that I have used all four of them in a counterclockwise fashion,
And I will turn the AC on, not the air conditioner, but the AC outlet, and see what that does, how much that draws. Here we go. The UPS kicks in at 361 watts. That would be like 5-6 hours of autonomy, considering that the 364 watts. Considering that the Bluetti might either be used to power the system or be used to recharge the UPS, whichever you prefer. In my situation, I think I'd use it to power the UPS and take it from there because of the requirement to power a fridge and freezer and so on and so forth, such as I had shown you earlier. Now I'll look again if the power hasn't gone down. 300 watts. So it goes up and down. Well, basically it went down 50 watts. It might draw less and less power as the UPS recharges. Now there's a UPS in line. I have a feeling that if the UPS weren't there, that the power consumption would be much lower. Hence, I would have like a full day's worth of work ahead of me, thanks to Bluetti. So I'm turning this back off. There you go. Now you may ask yourselves, Dennis, why are you showing us all of this? Doesn't your building supply you with sufficient power? Well, yeah, but what you don't know is that a couple of months ago, a contractor came in to refurbish our underground garage. And in doing so, they hit a power conduit and the matter hasn't been resolved yet. So every now and then we have these 2, 3, 4 hour long power outages that most people have a really hard time to deal with, but I just surf on it because I have the power. And also to highlight potential use cases, familiar to the to most of you. And that could, oh wait, I forgot something. I forgot one of the most important features of the AC200 Max is its expandability. Thanks to the addition of a B230 power module that typically doubles its runtime. So for everything that I showed you, you can double the pleasure, double the amount of power available by adding 1 or 2 of these power modules. To make use of the extension module, the B230, all you need to do is use what looks like a big hose. It's just an interface cable that you first hook up to one of the 2 outlets on the side of the AC200 Max. You push it in gently and then you lock it. It's very important to use the toggle switch at the front to toggle on and off the connector, and you connect it over here at the top. It's a hot swap, so you can have that power on and connect your B230 to it. So on the side of the B230, like we saw before on the AC200 Max, you power it on. You have a standard USB-A 18 watt outlet or connector, another USB-C 100 watt power delivery outlet, and a very convenient 12 volt 10 amp accessory port that I will now get into. Oh, and of course you have your AC charging port here. It's pretty much in the same fashion as you do have on the AC200 Max for use with the either solar or the brick that comes, the 500 watt brick that comes with it. So more on the accessory port that I have discovered over time. So to recap, you would usually use your AC200 Max to power AC and or DC items using the toggle switches available on the LCD screen. You would then you would also connect your AC200 Max to the B230 extension module to double your runtime on the equipment that you connect over here. And if your needs warrant, you would find more connectivity over here. But let's say for over here on the B230, let's say for instance that you'd like to go on a camping trip. This thing weighs 68 pounds and this one weighs about half that much. So you'd obviously want to take the lighter of the two on a camping trip. And in a dream situation, you would want this to be able to power DC and AC items, which isn't designed to do by default, but it can be done. If you purchase some inexpensive inverters from your hardware store or from Amazon, you can get things that will be rated at 150 watts, or one that I have over here that even have it on display. It can power up to 300 watts. But this access report here is rated at 12 volts, 10 amp. Now you're not going to drive 300 watts with a 10 amp outlet, but because the voltage output is not 12 but more in line with 13.5 volts, you pretty much can take it up to 200 watts, and we're going to test that theory. I haven't tested it yet, so the worst case scenario is that the inverter will trip off. We're not going to damage anything. So we're going to connect this 300 watt inverter to the B230. This thing you can purchase off of Amazon, by the way. And you turn it on. I say, oh, sorry, I have to power the B230 right here. And you power on your inverter. And as you can see, it is rated at, well, it currently displays 13.9. Let's see, it oscillates between 13 and 13.9, 60 hertz. This is a pure sine wave inverter. So we're going to put this down, and you know, you can forget about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the B230 from the AC200 Max. Disconnect it, and we're going to disconnect it from here also. We're going to power off the AC200 Max, and we're going to take items in increment. So this is your typical incandescent bulb. No, it's not the centennial light bulb, but it does the job. This is rated at 60 watts, so it's a 60 watt bulb. We're going to connect it to the inverter. We're going to power up the bulb, and it draws, so the bulb is on, full intensity, 12.9, and it draws 55 watts. So the B230 safely powers 50 to 60 watt equipment. So we're going to turn off the light bulb now, and we're going to replace this 60 watt bulb with a 100 watt bulb. These are just such fun tests to run. So this is a 100 watt bulb. So imagine all the stuff, the 100 watt stuff you can power on a camping trip. So we're going to turn on the light. Will it work? Will it trip? Let's see. I had never tested this before. So a 95 watt draw out of the 12 volt 10 amp outlet of the B230 still works fine. But we're not going to stop there. So we're going to switch that off, take off the light bulb, and replace it with something that I have found in a closet here that you don't see very often, a 200 watt bulb. Not very environmentally friendly, but it does the job just fine for the purpose of this test. So let's see what happens when we draw. I would not go above 200 watts, but I haven't tested it, so see what happens. Whoops. See, that's too much to ask. But it does work to some extent. Not okay, so we're not going to push it too hard. So 200 watt is exceeded. It's actually 2/3 of the. For this to work full power, the inverter requires a 30 amp output. such as is supplied by this avionics port here. But you know, we're on a camping trip, so all we have at hand is this. So far we're safely powering 100-watt equipment. So again, I exceeded. I will put my 100-watt bulb back on to make sure that everything was kept safe. And sure enough, turn it back on. The lamp goes, the light goes on, no problem, approximates 100 watts, and that's pretty much what you can do with your B230 standalone, which is pretty good. So to summarize, what we have here is a pretty versatile set of devices. We have the core AC200 Max that powers our equipment, and all the use cases that I've showed you earlier, my entertainment unit, my computer workstation, my fridge, the freezer, all in all, you can double the runtime when you add the B230 to it, and the more the merrier, or you can actually add two of those. You see, there are two ports here, two parallel ports that accommodates two B230s for a total of something like 2,000, or it's 6,500 watts total that you can build on your power on your AC200 Max. So a pretty versatile unit. So like I said earlier, I live in an apartment. I have a 200-watt set of solar panels that I lay outside on the south-facing balcony when the need arises, so that in that manner the solar panels deliver something like between 6 amp and 12 amp, which is enough to power a fridge without depleting the battery. Now, like I said, your fridge does not work at all times. It powers on and off. It's a compressor-based unit. So when it's powered off, your AC200 Max, your power station, has a pretty good chance of charging itself because the fridge draws much less than the solar panels provide. So it's pretty fun to tinker with, and you know, you do your own calculations. You look at your power requirements. I certainly have my own, and I like to manage my expectations. This video is all about managing your expectations. If you expect during an outage to, you know, keep your demands to something that is sustainable, that is within reach, you know, you're not running a sawmill, you need to tend to the essentials, this is perfect, and it's quiet. The two combined is 4,000 watts, silent. All you need to add to it are solar panels. 200-watt solar panel array is pretty much the norm, or the minimum requirement, and this is what I have, and I'm not expected to go above that because, like I said, I live in an apartment building, so, you know, laying out panels on my balcony, a 200-watt panel, monocrystalline, will pretty much take the entire space, which is fine. 200 watts is fine. But the more you add to it, the merrier, and your power station will run a good chance of charging more than is demanded from it. So this is my take on the AC200 Max B230 combo. I am so glad I came across those. Hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if there's information that I put out that you missed, you know, go back and review the videos, play, pause, rewind. That's what the play controls are there for. So thank you for watching.